Steve Milhausen here, sportingnews.com, another podcast. We're doing a video podcast recapping Bellator 138, and this is the Fighting Combat Podcast. I'm Steven Milhausen from sportingnews.com, and good show last night. Bellator 138 took place from the Scott Trade Center out in St. Louis, Missouri, and the main event, Kimbo Slice. Yes, Kimbo Slice, all of 41 years old, knocked out Ken Shamrock, and and I wrote a piece on this on Sporting News, and it was fun. You look at the lead up, it was fun. You had it was like, man, Kimbo Slice, yeah, he's back. Can he come back and knock out the guy that was known as the world's most dangerous man, a pioneer in the sport? The first really American to get over in this sport, and the build-up was fun. You had the two specials. I thought Spike and Bellator and Viacom did a really, really, really good job on the aesthetics of it and making the fight larger than life and bigger than it really should have been in 2015. Because why is Kimbo Slice still big in 2015? Why are we still talking about Ken Shamrock? Because the way the build-up was and their larger-than-life personalities. And then each fight's, you get into the, I got into the arena and I'm like, you get, how you get that big fight feel. And you had that in each fight, the prelim fights were going on. And, then you get to the main card and when we'll get to the main card, we'll kind of we'll work at the top and go to the bottom. But, you go through the Chandler fight, then you go through the Strauss fight, and then the Lashley fight, and then the Pitbull, Daniel Weichel fight. And you're like, and then just that little gap and like the crowd is buzzing and you're talking to other people and they're like, this fight's going to happen, and I'm in the back and you can feel like that energy in the back. Like, okay, we're going to see something really big here and something really important. And, then I hit the Road Warrior animal. Oh, that was something else. I'm not a big Road Warriors guy, but I can understand, Ken going back to his wrestling days and they were buddies and in WWE. And I'm like, yeah, well, whatever. And I don't know who the kids were or the woman was that was behind them. I'm assuming his grandchildren. I'm going to assume that. And he had Kimbo in it. I'm a fan of the gold chain. I wish the chain was a little bigger. It was big and bulky like that. And I don't know what that thing was he had like right down here, but I don't know what it was. I don't care. But you know what? The fight was fun. It's fun for what it was. It was the two slowest takedown attempts I've ever seen in the history of the sport, and I've been watching since the first one. And I've seen Ken perform a takedown, and that was definitely not one for the ages. It wasn't a Cain Velasquez double leg that we saw at UFC 188 against Fabricio Verdum. Slice says he's evolved and he couldn't even stuff a takedown like that. But I will give Kimbo Slice this. Shamrock puts him in the rear naked, and he somehow gets out. Somehow. Kimbo Slice gets out. And I was like, I'd be dang. He got out. And then the haymakers of Kimbo Slice, and a couple moments later, John McCarthy steps in, the fight is over, and the crowd is going, you can hear the crowd, a loud ovation. I was talking to some people watching the show at home, and they're like, holy cow, I can't believe that. And people I normally don't watch or watching. And that was, I think, the grand scheme of what Bellator was really trying to do. You get that big main event, and then you got the guys underneath that you're trying to build, like the Chandlers and the Strausses and the Lashleys and the Pitbulls. And that's the objective. And I still, and it's the one thing I wish the UFC would kind of, I'm not saying you got to go that route, but you got a big fight. At least maybe then you don't have to always have the title fight be the headliner. You can put that big fight people want to see at top and then work down. If it happens to be a title fight in the co-main, who cares? People watch the main event. And if you have that title fight there, the people are going to watch that title fight. And I think that was good for Pitbull, and I think it was good for Daniel Weichel. You had Lashley, who's a name from the WWE and TNA professional wrestling world. And then the former champion Strauss, the hometown kid and the former champion and Michael Chandler. But the anticipation was to the main event, and it worked. It was a number one up until I'm looking at the time now. Oh God, I got online maybe about 2.5 hours ago, and it was the number one trend. I was like, man, what the? People were trying to tell me I was crazy, but I looked, then on Facebook it was, and Twitter, I made a mistake. It was still a top trend on Twitter, but it wasn't the number one trend. But the fact that it was trending number one from the time it started. I finished and put my last article in bed at Sporting News at about 3 Central. And still it was the number one trend at that time. So it just shows, and then Kimbo was trending, Shamrock was trending, and it showed the purpose worked. The world was talking about it. People that normally don't watch MMA were watching it. People that normally don't watch MMA were going to the show. I had a couple of people contact me and say, hey, I'm here. I'm sorry that I couldn't get to you. It was just fight night, man, is hectic. I don't usually get a lot of time to talk, so I do greatly apologize for that. I kind of like that whole tunnel vision thing, so I do apologize. If you come to the show in Chicago, the UFC Fox show in July, this hopefully will be a little less hectic, and I can at least say a hello. So, but no, it was fun. Was it the greatest fight of all time? No, but was it better than Randy Couture and James Toney in Boston in 2010? Yes. And that's what the purpose served. I think the rating is going to be really good if the trending numbers are any indication. I think this is going to do very, very, very well. And I think it helps the next fight for Chandler, the next fight for Strauss, the next fight for Bobby Lashley, and specifically Pitbull, because now he can go into that spot, headline on a show coming up later this year, and people are going to remember, hey, this is the guy that threw the Hail Mary left hook to win by knockout when it seemed like he was dead to rights. So, when you take those positives, you look at when Tito fought Bonner in November. Look at what they did for Will Brooks. Now more people know who Will Brooks is, and they're watching his fights. He drew a good rating when they headlined. When he headlined the show, I think it was it was either last month or in April. There's so many shows. But that fight served it, Bonner Ortiz served its purpose for a guy like Will Brooks. I think that works here for a Patricio Pitbull. Chandler's already there. Lashley is already there. But yet it helps the Strausses and it helps the Pitbulls. It even helps Daniel Weichel, even in defeat. So, and people are like, will it break the rating of the 3.156 million people that watched Conor McGregor and Dennis Seaver in January? Yeah. More homes, spikes in, I think, man, I want to see, I hear varying numbers. One day I hear 98, the next day I hear 100. So we're going to go between 98 and 100 million. I don't know. I think, someone said 3, I'm going with 4 million. That's going to be my number. It's Kimbo Slice. People love the train wreck, the YouTube sensation, Ultimate Fighter, and then Ken Shamrock, and then the nostalgia and the prestige Shamrock brings, that he brought in, and Ken's going to talk. And, and the buildup was very good. A lot of good articles, and props to, Deadspin had a good article. I forget the guy's name. Greg Howard, I think his name is. Bleacher Report, Jonathan Snowden had a great article on Ken Shamrock. Some really, really good stuff. I'm going to include myself in it. A good article with Kimbo, but it was fun, and that's what the purpose was. I said this in the editorial I wrote, and that was published late last night, and I put out early, and I blasted out on social media earlier this morning. It's about bringing. It was good to relive my youth. The fight was only 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Okay. But you know what, though? I'm 34 years old. When I was 27, my perspective was, man, I'm the biggest fight fan. I love fights. God bless my wife. She's freaking great and tolerates my Saturday nights of it's fight night, most nights and for most good cards. And, we'll get more, we'll talk about that in a moment, but it was fun. I had, it was a great time. It had a big fight feel. The production was good. You need to look at the production. I wish I would have taken pictures. And I apologize for that. I get so caught up, I forget about you guys. You guys want to see this stuff. Like the arch thing, was really cool. And, the video board and, the videos behind it. And, Kimbo comes out and they show him knocking out people in the YouTube videos. I'm like, they get it. And that's what makes Bellator a good alternative to the UFC is different things. It's different strokes for different folks. It was fun. I think an A+ job, a great show. It was fun to see. It was fun to see the nostalgia. It's fun to see that. You get that a couple times a year, the seriousness of every show. But it was good to kick back, and have some fun with this. It was a fun build-up, a lot of jaw-jacking back and forth. And they delivered. The fight wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but, for guys their age, it was perfectly fine. Kimbo Slice wins, which I think is a great move. Not a great move, but a great coup for Bellator. The fact that he did win, and now you can do more with him. To where I think for Ken, we'll get to Kimbo in a minute, but for Ken, I think he's done. He's got to be done. Go to Bleach. Great article by Jeremy Botter on Shamrock. And time, especially saying it was time to retire. And and I said that too in the good, the bad, and the dirty, just on my overall aspect of the show and not just the main event. And it's time. You can't 2-8 in your last 10. Time to go right off into the sunset. Be grandpa, be husband. Continue working at the gym. Continue, helping out the youth and do your public speaking. You got your life back together and be a brand ambassador for Bellator. And I just don't want to see him again. I have no reason. Not even to, and they're talking about Herschel Walker, and I don't even have a gumption to see Ken Shamrock and Herschel Walker. I really don't. Makes no sense. If Ken would have won, okay, you can see him moving forward and some more fun fights, but it's time to hang it up. I love you, Ken. You're a great guy. I've talked to you before. You're a really good dude. You're one of the, you are a pioneer in the sport, the first American to really make it in this sport. And, for that, I salute you. Thank you. For Kimbo Slice, I don't know. He says he wants to fight again this year. And I tried to talk to him. He did 2 interviews and just kind of skedaddled out of there. Right when the presser ended, I was writing some stuff. And because I saw some people already kind of like hounding him. So I'm like, all right, I'll kind of just peek up and watch. And then I went up and, they were leaving. But I'm going to talk to him within the next couple weeks. I know his manager pretty well. So, his advisor. So they're like, give it a couple weeks and we'll talk. And I'm like, perfectly fine. Have a great night. Congratulations. But what do you do now with Kimbo? I don't know. Herschel Walker? I think that'd be kind of fun. Be fun to see. You can't put him in really, I don't think anything serious. Seth Petrozelli, Kimbo said it in January when his return was announced that Kimbo was wanting it, and Petrozelli trying to charge the cage after the fight and was jaw-jacking and saying, I want you next, to put me in your knees on social media. I retweeted a couple of things. I thought it was kind of funny. Why not? You could go that route. Go Herschel Walker. I don't know. I think that would, I think that would be fun. I think they're still, depending on the rating. Let's see how the rating is. I think the rating is going to be good. I'll put it this way. If it doesn't do above 3, if it doesn't break McGregor Seaver, I will be shocked. It will be. Ortiz Bonner peaked at 2.2. It averaged 1.9. I'm going to take a guess that I think we're gonna, because if you look at it, Kimbo's a bigger name than Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock's a bigger name than they're both bigger name. Man, Shamrock's a bigger name than Bonner. Kimbo Slice is a bigger name than all three of them put together. So if you do the math and do it correctly, I think we will get a new record. I think it will be the best mark we see so far in 2015. So I think Herschel Walker, I think maybe the end of the year, maybe December. Because it seems like they're going to do these quarterly. Kind of what they did 1 in February, 4 months later, September 19th, which we'll get to in a minute. So, but a great show overall. Chandler looked great. Like I said, Chandler looked awesome. 2 good wins for Strauss and Chandler. Get back on track. Chandler needs another fight before he called out Will Brooks, but maybe Saad Awad. Maybe that's a fight that makes sense next for Chandler. For Strauss, I think you can put Strauss right back in there for the title. He was beating Pitbull until Pitbull came back and won the fight. So you can make a case there where Strauss can be next. Bobby Lashley, good win. Dan Charles had a prayer in hell, and John McCarthy should have stopped that a whole lot earlier than he did. But now we got to see him against bigger competition. You can't keep putting him in there with tomato cans. You have to put him in there with some serious competition here. Let's be serious here. If he's going to be viable and you're going to make more money off of him, he's popular. He knows he can talk, he can sell. But you have to put him in there against viable competition. You have no choice in the matter. Pitbull, what can you say? Do a Hail Mary, win by knockout. Weichel thought he won the fight. The end the first round, hit him with the right hand, hit him with a very, very quick combination, a couple punches and a kick, and it looked like he was going to win, and it was hard to hear the bell. And good job to John McCarthy. Very, very good job by John McCarthy. And so the bell sounded. It's going to round 2, and even that round's beginning, and Pitbull's you could see he still looked a little. And I just rewatched the card before I got home 6 a.m. I'm tired. Still haven't slept. But what helps them? Bad sell here. Dunkin' Donuts, iced coffee. It does help, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you drink. And they're not sponsoring this. So Dunkin' Donuts, thank you very much. Or what? Oh. When Weichel senses he goes for blood. He's going for the kill. Lands another good combination. Pulls off a good combination. Gets Pitbull against the cage and it's what you never do with a fighter is it's always in MMA. It's always that one shot. And he landed that one shot. Won the fight. That's how it went. Adios meal. It is all over. My reference to my buddy Mauro Ranallo. So thank you, Mauro. But good win for Pitbull. Like I said, I think the Strauss fight will be next, and we already talked about the main event. So scale 1 to 10, I think, you look at overall the whole presentation. I heard some issues about the pacing. And I can see that. But like Scott Coker told Luke Thomas, I watched an interview. I listened to it actually driving home, and said that God filled out due to commercials, and makes sense. And when he gets a chance, to hear some of those undercard fights, and you get to see, I think Justin Lawrence, the former RFA champion, I think former Ultimate Fighter guy, got out of the UFC, kind of built himself back up, and I thought, a really nice win. I'm not throwing him to the wolves. It's a guy you build. I think that's a guy that's definitely can be a title contender. So, I thought the way they did that was well done. And now there was a pre-fight press conference, and Bellator announced that September the 19th in San Jose, the former home of Strikeforce, and Scott Coker and Bellator Dynamite, Bellator 141 Dynamite, which is Scott Coker termed it it's a 3-tier system. They are joining Glory Kick. There'll be kickboxing fights. You have about 3 or 4 fights involved with Glory, and Paul Daly and Joe Schilling will be in those fights. I don't know the other 2 as of yet, but Paul Daly, they won't be facing each other, but they will be competing in individual fights. And it's pretty cool. You're going to have an arena. You're going to have a ring. And then you're going to have a cage. That's pretty fucking awesome. What the hell is wrong with that? I love it. Great, great, great idea. Love it. Sorry, I'm talking a little soft. My wife is sleeping, so I don't want to get like over rambunctious and overly excited. You can see her there in the picture. The picture right behind me, the beautiful woman to the, I think it's to the right. She's pretty cool. But no, this is great. I don't know how they're gonna do it. I think this is genius. You're gonna, because you can generate the kickboxing fan and you can get the MMA fan. You can get them all together in one arena. Not bad. Very nice. Common sense. Something new, something different, something out of the box. Then Scott Coker announced the one-night tournament's coming back. It's only a 4-man tournament. And it's only for a title shot at the light heavyweight title. And the four guys are Phil Davis, King Muhammad Lawal, former Bellator light heavyweight champion Emmanuel Newton, and Linton Vassell. The matchups haven't been determined yet, but I don't know how I don't know how they're going to do it. I'm going to assume probably Lawal and Vassell and Davis and Emmanuel Newton. You don't want Newton, Lawal 3 unless it's in the finals. So I think that's where they go. The one-night tournament, I put it in the piece I wrote that somehow got lost in the sporting news thing, and it got sent to, ended up in like a junk email, but I took care of it. I wrote it like right when the news happened, but it didn't get posted till like late last night. So, but anyways, and I posted it and some good feedback, and I'm a fan of the tournament. I always thought, the tournament was cool. That's how the UFC started. The first until Ultimate Brazil at UFC 17.5. It was all tournaments. They did a super fight on, for the main event, but it was, it was still, they had a tournament format, and then, Strikeforce had, the 4-person women's tournament in 2010. And then you had, the Battlegrounds MMA pay-per-view, which I actually watched, and it was actually kind of fun. You had JR and, Jim Ross and Chael Sonnen doing the commentary, and Ryan Nero wins the tournament. He beat Mark Munoz in February, got him a return to the UFC. So it's cool to see. And I understand why they don't do it anymore. Just, the health risk involved, and, it's the overall safety of the fighters, which makes sense. But a one-night tournament, when I was talking to my editor, and he was like, man, I didn't know. He's like, California approved it. I'm like, that was a question I asked, and it was approved by the commission. And, 4-man, one-night tournament. If someone does get hurt, they get 2 reserve bouts that will take place. Those fighters have not been announced yet. But, I think it's a really cool concept. And the winner gets, we'll get a title shot against the third tier of this, which will be the main event of the show. It will be Bellator light heavyweight champion Liam McGeary taking on the former UFC light heavyweight champion and Hall of Famer Tito Ortiz. Yes, and that's why I took my time. And yes, Tito Ortiz is back, getting a title shot. I guess wins over Alexander Shlemenko and Stephan Bonner get you a title shot. That's what people were saying. I think it's fun. I think it's cool because this helps McGeary. McGeary's a stud. He's 10-0, 7-0 in Bellator. This guy's a machine. And beating Emmanuel Newton for the title in February, very good on his feet. He's got really good submissions. He's got good jiu-jitsu. Trains with Frankie Edgar and the team out in Renzo Gracie and the boys out in New Jersey. In New York, this is I think McGeary wins in a landslide, but you never know. It's still a lure of it. Can Tito Ortiz, that one final shot of glory? Tito Ortiz is in a winning streak in 2015. Go freaking figure. But that's what makes the sport fun. And, this is a chance to make a star.
It's either Tito Ortiz can, and he stated this is his goal, though, and he told me this when I talked to him in November. In November, the goal is to get to a title, to win, to get the title, win the title, and go out on top. That is the goal of Tito Ortiz. He campaigned for it. He told me he was going to do it, and he did. And good for him. And he got what he wanted. I think it was a smart move by Scott Coker and Bellator and Viacom and Spike, and he's a draw. People will pay to see him fight, and I like the fact they're having it in San Jose. That's a really good market. You're going to probably get about 10,000. You may even get more. You may even sell the thing. You never know. With the promotional power of Scott Coker, with Viacom's money, Spike TV's, and they're going to pump it out. They're going to generate the publicity, and you're going to get, hopefully no one gets hurt, and we get to see a really great night of fights. I plan on being there. I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So Bellator is doing great things. It's a great alternative. Definitely tune in, and don't forget, and later on today, we're going to end this here, and because I'm tired, and I got fights to watch in 2 hours. Even though right now the main card for UFC, the preliminary card for UFC Fight Night 69 is going on right now. So, but I will be having a recap of that show. The main event will be, again, UFC strawweight champion Joanna. I'm just going to call her Joanna champion. Jędrzejczyk. I'm going to butcher it. So I'm just going to call her Joanna champion, defending the title against Jessica Penne. So there'll be a main event recap of that on sportingnews.com. And if Joanna wins, then I will then have an editorial of leaning towards the thing about her and Ronda, because I initially wrote that 3 months ago, and everyone's now on the gravy train on that. So, which I find very interesting. But what else? Then big card tonight, which Premier Boxing. Then you got boxing, Premier Boxing champions Adrian Broner, Sean Porter. A lot of people not liking Adrian Broner. I think the antics are funny. He's trying to be like Floyd Mayweather, which there's only one Floyd Mayweather. He should worry about being the next Adrian Broner. But that is just my opinion, and I'm looking forward to that fight. And then Andre Ward fights on BET tonight against Paul Smith. So we'll have a recap of the Broner fight. I'll have that on Sporting News, and I'll have a recap of the Andre Ward fight as well. And there will be a podcast, another video podcast, either late tonight or early tomorrow. We'll go over the main event of the UFC show. We'll kind of scatter over the fights, and we'll go into the Broner, we'll go into PBC, and then we'll go into the Andre Ward fight. But you can follow me on Twitter at @SMielhausen MMA. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Fighting Combat, and also SoundCloud. You can go on there as well. If you can't listen to this, you can listen to the audio if you can't watch the video. YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. We got 97 subscribers. We got almost 180,000 views. So we're making some headway here after we started it, stopped it, and now it's back for good with videos and podcasts and cool shit like that. So we're definitely trying to get the views up, get the subscribers up. I'll keep pumping out more videos if you guys keep watching. So, and keep subscribing. So we're at 97 subscribers. I need more. Let's get to 100. This is the goal. By the end of the day, let's get to 100. That is the goal. So definitely subscribe to the channel. A lot of great interviews. Bill Goldberg, Steve Austin, Jerry Lawler, Booker T, Joanna, Jędrzejczyk, Anthony Pettis. A lot of cool interviews. So definitely, Chael Sonnen, Dana White, Rashad Evans. Definitely check them out. A lot of cool stuff. So definitely do all of that. Twitter, Facebook.com/TKO Radio under the old adage. So iTunes, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and also on Stitcher. Search Fighting Combat. This is Stephen Mielhausen. I'm going to drink my coffee, and I will talk to you later.